A Sunday, and it's not your typical Sunday. It's actually the National Day of Sweden today, so it's a sort of a special day here. And what better subject to talk about than your favorite Swedish albums? There's tons of great music coming out of Sweden, and I thought I'd talk about a lot of cool albums. I found a lot of stuff and a lot of stuff with quite a lot of diversity as well. That's the subject for today, so tag along. But first, you know the drill. Subscribe to this YouTube page down below and that little notice bell as well. I also have to give a little shout out to our youngest subscriber. Hey Tage in Växjö. Hope you dig this episode with Swedish music. It's cool to hear that younger people are finding this channel, and also please, if you think you have friends who'd like this sort of stuff, feel free to share. Well, enough of the rambling. Favorite Swedish albums. There's so much to choose from. There's a lot of cool heavy rock. There's a lot of great pop music coming out of Sweden, and there's some curveballs as well. So I actually found like 6, 7 or 8 albums or so in quite a few different styles, and leaning a little bit towards the heavy stuff. Sweden are famous for a lot of cool heavy rock bands, and I don't want to, since a couple of these bands are friends of mine, I really have to make sure I don't forget them. But let's start. I think I'll start with a bit of a curveball. This is probably my absolute favorite Swedish albums. It's by a guy called Jan Johansson. He's actually the father of Anders and Jens, the drummer and keyboard player from Yngwie Malmsteen, from Hammerfall, and from Rainbow as well. He was a famous jazz pianist in Sweden. He died really young, unfortunately. This is an album where he does sort of jazz version of Swedish folk music, and this is I think all Swedes have this in their DNA somehow. There's some great tracks. There's nothing better on a lazy Sunday having this album playing in the background. It reminds me of like the Swedish forests and the Swedish way back in history actually. So it's a cool one. It's called Jazz in Swedish. The title, it's in Swedish, of course. So check that one out if you're into some cool jazz music. Next one. Yeah, I think we could do this one. I think I mentioned this band before. They're called November, and was sort of like the first bands in Sweden playing heavy rock music. I think I mentioned it. We made a cover of one of their songs from their first album. This is the last one. It's called 6th of November, actually, so it's a little bit tricky. It's the third album, actually, but it's called the 6th of November. And the painting is from, it's a painting of when the Swedish king was killed in a battle on the 6th of November, 1632. Yeah, I used to be a history teacher, so I know that stuff. Anyway, this is the last one. They made 3 really cool albums. There's a live album out, came out in the 90s as well, with a show, I think a radio show from around this time. But they're really cool. They sing in Swedish, but there's some really great riffs on it. This one is quite a rare album on vinyl. I guess it didn't sell that much when it came out, but it's a cool one. I think we'll go for some CDs now. If you're talking best Swedish music, you have to mention ABBA. This one is an album I grew up with. My parents had it. I get a little bit of reflection there. I see myself. That's quite annoying, actually. This one was, I remember just looking at the cover, thinking it was so cool with them sitting in a helicopter. But there's some great tracks. I mean, you have Dancing Queen, you have Knowing Me, Knowing You. Yeah, any album that had both those songs, it's a great album. So ABBA, you have to have a little bit of ABBA. You also have to have a little bit of Europe as well. This one is being my favorite, Wings of Tomorrow. It's their second one. I think it's their heaviest album. Actually, some great tracks on this one. Of course, the later albums are more famous, but I think this is a great one. Wings of Tomorrow, Scream of Anger, there's some great tracks on it. So check it out if you haven't. I think there's a different cover, and this is the first cover here in Sweden. I think they changed it later on. Also, early Swedish band, Candlemass, Epicus, Domicus, Metallicus. Also talk about an album that sort of started a new genre in music with the whole doom thing. They made some great albums, but I think this one is probably the best. I think the latest one as well, when they got the singer from this album back in the band, is really cool as well. But this one is excellent. Great album. One of my favorite musicians in Sweden is Nicke from Helicopters and Entombed, and he has a history of tons of different bands. Imperial State Electric is really cool as well. But I decided to go with one album of his, and this is a bit of a curveball. The Solution album he did with Scott Morgan from Sonic's Rendezvous. You may debate if it's a Swedish album. Scott is not Swedish, but it was recorded in Sweden, and I think most of the musicians are Swedish as well, so I count this as a Swedish album. And this is a great one. It's soul music, the way soul music is supposed to, what it's supposed to sound like. We met Scott when they recorded this album when we were on tour with Monster Magnet in 2004. So they came backstage after the show, since they had like the evening off or something. And he was truly a nice guy. I spoke quite a lot with him. And the album is great. Some great tracks. Some originals and some covers as well. And they have a great band. They did a second album, but I think this one is the strongest one. So check it out. It's called Communicate, The Solution. This one as well. I really enjoy The Haunted. I think they are probably one of my favorite like extreme metal bands coming out of Sweden. They've done tons of cool stuff. And this is their second album, The Haunted Made Me Do It. I think it's probably my favorite. They recorded it in the same studio where we recorded our first albums in Malmö with Bano. And this is a great one. It's made on analog tape, and it sounds great, and it's aggressive and some super cool riffs. And this one, I may be a little bit Spiritual Beggars. I did the album after this one with them called On Fire, but this one, Ad Astra, I think it's super strong album, which I still listen to this album every once in a while. Some great riffs from Mike Amott and cool drumming from Ludwig, and the whole band is really on fire here. I really enjoy this one. Don't have it on vinyl for whatever reasons, I don't know. I think Mike gave me this one to learn the songs when we started the Monster Groove tour in 2003, I believe. Yeah, so I maybe have to buy the vinyl edition since it's a great album. I guess if you're into the QUILL, you're quite aware of Spiritual Beggars, but great album. And the last one. Which one should be the last Swedish album? Well, more is more. If you're talking about Swedish bands, you have to mention Yngwie Malmsteen. And I think this is the best one, Odyssey, with Jolene Turner as well. He's a fantastic guitarist, and I love the earlier albums as well. I have to say I haven't listened to the latest. I heard actually the latest track released just the other day was actually kind of cool, but he'd done some stuff that I don't know what he's trying to achieve really. But this one, I think it's strong melodies. He needs a good singer, and you have Jolene Turner here. You also have Bob Daisley playing bass on a couple of tracks on this one as well, and you have the Johansson brothers. That's a good way to come full circle from the first album I mentioned with their father, Jan Johansson. You have some super strong tracks here. You have the hit single of his as well, Heaven Tonight, but you have Rising Force, Hold On. You have I always liked Riot in the Dungeons. I don't know, I bought the Heaven Tonight single when I was a kid at first, and I really enjoyed the B-side as well. But this is a great album. Check it out. There you have them. For some reason, but I think the story is that Yngwie wanted Bob to join the band, but he didn't, so he didn't get his picture on the cover, which is a shame. But anyway, so that was my favorite, a couple of my favorite Swedish albums. There's tons of more stuff, but this is what I came up with today. I'm a little bit late. I usually try to post the episodes earlier, but I've been out working. It's been a great day here in Sweden, so I've been trying to play the handyman outside, doing so. Anyway, cool. Thank you for watching, and thanks for everyone who reached out and congratulated us. We got the Culture Prize of Mönsterås, our hometown, this Friday. So we actually met up for a small ceremony, the four of us. We haven't seen each other in quite a while because of the COVID restrictions, but we're getting up on the horse again, so you'll be hearing more from us. And we have a really cool announcement coming on Wednesday at noon, I believe, so check our social media. You know the drill, the QUILL Sweden, and we have some super cool news on Wednesday at noon, so check it out. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next week. Bye for now.